almost every society had. And yes, your daughter could be a bonded servant. That is correct. 3,000 years ago when this was written, that was possible. That is correct.
There's
I don't have a problem with it.
Where the creator of the universe rescinds these rules. He doesn't say that when you get to the new world and develop 3 branches of government, it's okay to
but isn't it remarkable? Isn't it remarkable because Jews and Christians did rescind the need to do so because bonded indemnity.
The influence of secular dialogue.
All right, you can argue that, right? And I would argue that the absence of God is more likely to give us Gulag and Auschwitz than it is to give us enlightenment. We'll be
having an interest, having experience, having something that. Having a
no human fetus has that experience. So why does it matter if it's 3 days or 6 months?
Oh, it matters tremendously.
What is the experience of a 6-month-old fetus?
Well,
they didn't talk to anybody. They have no memory.
A 6-month-old fetus is viable and certainly a system that can feel pain, probably. With some degree of acuity that you and I would recognize.
Then why is almost the entire secular world of which you are a member against the ban on partial birth abortion?
This is an issue of how polarized our discussion is because of the intrusion of faith-based dogma into these questions of policy. Secular people have been forced not to talk sensibly about the very real ethical issues that surround abortion.
So it's religious people's fault that secular people are not sensible.
Well, because yes,
that's remarkable. That is a first, I have to say.
Well, Dennis, they're so embattled by the dogmatism which says that at the moment of conception, a soul is fully formed, and therefore there is no slippery slope. There's no conversation worth having. Life is life. It's sacred, and block all.
I have to say to you that I find that more rational. Now, just saying rational, than the secular argument that a woman who's having an abortion is doing what she wants with her own body, since that is prima facie irrational, since it's not her body, it's in her body.
But see, this is
I have lived a life, Sam, where I have seen the secular produce far more irrationality in my civilization, not in the Middle East, than the religious have. That's the great challenge to you, Sam.
Well, no,
the secular produce foolishness.
That there are situations where starving to death is a bad option.
Okay,
now,
but wait, let's stay on the hot shot. I'm not big on starvation, although I don't believe Ms. Shivo felt anything. All the doctors say the same thing.
Right.
Say I'm depressed, and say I'm a drug addict or an alcoholic, and I don't want to live anymore, and I walk in, and you think that the doctor has a right to take my life because I don't want to live anymore?
Well, we have to be...
Wait, answer that question, sir, if you would.
Well, if we have to analyze the situation very carefully.
I just gave you the situation.
Well,
I'm depressed, I'm an addict, I don't want to live anymore, I walk in, I ask for a hot shot, should the doctor give it to me?
Well, not if your depression isn't medicated. I mean, we have remedies for depression, but people who are depressed we know are not the best judges.
But what if they say, look, I've been on Prozac and heroin for 18 years, I've had enough, I don't want to live. Would you give the state the authority to grant the person's wishes to end his or her own life if they didn't have a terminal disease? Would you?
I think the decision should rest with the person ultimately.
Okay, so
we should give that person
and that's the secular approach that we have in Holland and a lot of other places.
Right, absolutely.
That if you don't want to live, you can walk into a clinic or a doctor and say, I don't want to live, doc. It will never happen.
Well,
life, if you have an illness that's terminal, I could understand. If you're depressed, because you could always change your mind. I don't think the state has the authority to do that. Go ahead.
Well, there are people. It's just if you do not think that there's a situation where you are, with the full presence of your mind, are competent to judge that you want to die and don't want to live another moment. You're just not thinking clearly enough.
Well, then suicide should not be illegal.
It should not be. Absolutely not.
So anybody can do anything they want with their body.
Jesus was born of a virgin, or that Muhammad went to heaven on a winged horse. That would be part of our rational worldview.
Now again, Sam's the one who brings up the virgin birth and Islam, and we can assume that he knows what he's talking about since he talks about Christianity and Islam quite a bit in his books. But when Stephen Colbert runs with the topic that Sam brought up and says that Jesus was born of a virgin, Sam shares some of his expertise and tells his viewers what Islam has to say about the virgin birth.
I've got historical evidence. The Bible tells me Jesus was born of a virgin.
Yeah, but
I mean, there's your witness right there, the Bible.
Unfortunately, the Quran says that anyone who thinks that is going to spend eternity in hell.
But we're not talking about the Quran, we're talking about the Bible.
So, according to the Quran, anyone who thinks that Jesus was born of a virgin will spend eternity in hell. I've never bothered to correct Sam on this, but since he literally asked for it, let's check the Quran. Here's Surah 3, verses 45 to 47. And mention when the angels said, O Mary, indeed Allah gives you good tidings of a word from him, whose name will be the Messiah, Jesus the son of Mary, distinguished in this world and the hereafter, and among those brought near to Allah. He will speak to the people in the cradle and in maturity, and will be of the righteous. She said, My Lord, how will I have a child when no man has touched me? The angel said, Such is Allah, he creates what he wills. When he decrees a matter, he only says to it, Be, and it is. This is one of several passages in the Quran dealing with the virgin birth of Jesus, yet Sam Harris doesn't seem to be aware of any of them. Keep in mind, Sam says this after he studied Islam for his book, The End of Faith. Why is this a problem? Well, the virgin birth of Jesus is kind of Islam 101-ish. In fact, this is pre-Islam 101. This is something you'll hear in the first 5 minutes of your first ever conversation with a Muslim. There are, of course, plenty of people in the world who don't know any Muslims and who don't know what the Quran says about the virgin birth. But if you don't know what the Quran says about the virgin birth, you probably shouldn't go on television and start telling people what the Quran says about the virgin birth.
You can't, or is that too complicated for you?
It's true.
Now, to be fair, we all make mistakes. Some of us just do it on a popular television show as we try to promote a book, the credibility of which is severely undermined by our embarrassing blunder on the very topic we're claiming to be experts on. The sad part here is that this mob of clueless narcissistic teenagers who call themselves the new atheists, they go to Sam Harris to learn about religion. They go to a guy who not only doesn't know what he's talking about, but also writes books and does TV shows on the very topics he doesn't know about. And then people wonder why there are all these Internet Harris and Dawkins drones who spend all their time trolling Facebook and Twitter talking about Islam and Christianity when they've obviously never studied either religion. Why do they abandon that age-old principle, study first, then talk, in favor of a new principle, talk always but never studied? Check the role model. Here we can only ask, why aren't these self-proclaimed skeptics at all skeptical about their sources of information? It seems that their irrational, unshakable, cult-like faith in Sam Harris, the Sam Harris delusion, we might call it, just isn't open to any sort of empirical disconfirmation. So no matter how many blunders Sam makes, his followers will do what they do best: follow. To use as one example, we can assume that he picked his best, clearest instance of Jesus demanding the blood of unbelievers.
You can take Jesus in half his moods and get some really beautiful ethical precepts like the Golden Rule. But Jesus also said things like in Luke 19, anyone who doesn't want me to reign over him, bring him before me and slay him before me.
So Jesus